Ready? This is a round robin, right?
Round robin, baby. Yeah.
All right. So we got 3 boxes, 4 movies. This will be pretty exciting. You guys ready? 3, 2, 1.
Yippee-Ki-Yay, mother.
Welcome to the party, pal.
Welcome to Yippee-Ki-Yay Mother Podcast, Round Robin Edition. I'm Ralph Quartucci.
I'm Sean Paul Murphy.
I'm Deborah Murphy.
I'm John Quattucci.
Well, that was a quick introduction.
Wow.
Holy
Where is
cow,
everybody?
We are down some boxes. Chris couldn't make it tonight, and we all know Drew doesn't do the round robins unless we do Bad Nuns. He's got many little
Bad Nuns he wants to do.
We had a guest schedule, but he couldn't do it this week because he had a coaching opportunity. Not saying who the guest was, but he's been on before, and he coaches football.
And used to play football.
And he used to play football.
Wojo?
Brad or Wojo? Which one? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, they'll be missed, but here we are. We got the whole place to ourselves. This could go on for a while.
Ralph, the announcement came out that Ralph's getting married. We can publicly say that now that my folks know about it.
Right.
So we're all very happy for Ralph, and it looks like there's going to be a big shindig at his house. Ralph, what's the address?
Yeah, it's 725-970 Mockingbird Lane.
I think we should have some of our subscribers go to it. I think that would be fun.
Good.
I think the last time Ralph had a big shindig at his house, he ended up kicking out a key showrunner for HBO.
That's true. Yeah.
We quit the show for a while, actually.
Yeah.
I quit the show for a while because of that. But
so you've got just a glow about you, Ralph. I mean, you just look so happy. I'm so happy for you.
I'm thrilled. I couldn't be happier. So
I can tell that. There
you go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's do a little round of what?
You do look happy.
I feel great.
Oh, that's
Seriously,
awesome.
I am,
that's great.
Wait
a minute. I'm sorry. I threw up in my mouth a little bit. I'm sorry.
It's all good. All right, so let's do a quick round, since there's only a few of us, of what you watch. Sean and Debbie, what'd you watch?
We went to the movies and saw that wonderful movie with Nicolas Cage, the unbelievable, great show.
An unbearable weight of massive talent.
Yes, and it was massive talent.
Nick Cage could smooch.
You guys enjoyed it, huh?
Oh, we loved it. Where we were, the people behind us were laughing, and then we felt free to laugh, so we were laughing
Wait, I have to.
Yeah,
I want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Let's
so
analyze
other people
that
were
one.
laughing, so you felt free to laugh. So if they weren't laughing, you would not feel free to laugh.
It really adds to it. You know what I mean?
That's true.
That's the shared experience of going to the movie theater when it works.
That is true.
When it doesn't work, it sucks.
Yeah, but we were all just engaged in laughter, the whole theater, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yes. But I had a wonderful time because we went alone. It was like it was a date.
Yeah, it was interesting because we even said it. We usually have people go with us to the movies, and it was best. It was like how we used to go to the movies, just the two of us. When it was just the two of us.
We didn't smooch though, or did we? Just a little bit.
I think we did. I think we did.
Do you felt comfortable? You felt comfortable doing that in front of people?
No, but there weren't people. They were They were just like.
Can we get back to the movie, please?
Is it a good date? Is it a good date movie?
Yes.
Okay.
Especially if you're Nick Cage.
Yeah.
Because then you can take yourself. And I want to say one thing, like if you looked at, what was that? The Paint Houses, whatever that one was, De Niro, Pesci, the gangster film, The Irishman, where I thought that the de-aging was horrible because, De Niro suddenly looked like he's 30, but he's like walking around like he's 80.
Right. That's true. That's
but I thought the de-aging in this film of Nicolas Cage was really terrific. He really looked just like, wild at heart, Nick Cage. It was. Yeah,
he was Nicky Coppola.
And it's hard to believe that was really him playing the role. Because he would, Betty Davis was on an interview with Johnny Carson once. And if you go back and see that interview where she talks to Johnny about acting very young. She was probably 60 or 70 at this interview. But the way she moved just like so young and youthful and excited and vibrant. She just and she had a hat that she had on. So you can act young. You know what I'm saying? You could be in your life feeling old, but if you act young and alert and, you can fool somebody.
Well, that was his face, but not his body.
Yeah, De Niro had to run. Body. But didn't De Niro have to run in The Irishman? Like he had to run and
at one point he's like kicking somebody in the head.
Yeah. It looked like.
Well, Nick Cage can run.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, according to the behind
stunt double. Yeah,
no, good film. So you guys check out Cue It Up with the Q Brothers. We did a little review.
Yeah, we loved it. So. We both loved it.
What's that podcast again?
Cue It Up with the Q Brothers.
With the Q Brothers.
There's a lot of Cue It Up podcasts, it turns out. A lot of Cue It Ups on shooting pool.
Yeah. And we don't do any of that. Pool. We don't do any of that on our show.
No shooting pool. John, what did you watch?
Well, first of all, let me just say how excited I am today about new Tom Brady news. He just signed a contract with Fox Sports. He's going to be the lead football analyst once he retires.
For real.
10 years, $375 million is his contract. So we're going to have a lot more Tom Brady in the future. And I think that makes us all just better people.
I know that.
So dizzy. I'm dizzy.
Crazy, right? Now, the other thing I watched based on Sean's recommendation, I watched Runaway Train last night. And I had not seen that in a long time because I remembered nothing I remembered like two things from the movie. And I really, really liked the movie.
Great.
It was tense the whole time. The only thing I have to say, I thought it was utterly ridiculous that the warden landed on the train to confront him at the end. I thought that was so ridiculous, other than he got his revenge on the guy. That I did like. But him hanging by the ladder on the helicopter was so silly. It was kind of stupid. But Jon Voight, I thought, was really good in this. I mean, and I read stuff that he didn't want to do the movie because he didn't like the character. And the director talked him into it, saying it's such against type, you would like it. And he really embraced it. And if I read, it didn't occur. Who wrote this? Was it
Akira Kurosawa?
It was. Okay. He wanted to film it originally, right?
Yeah.
That's what I read. So I was surprised by that too. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. And I thought Rebecca De Mornay was good too. And you know what? Even though she was all dirtied up, she's still beautiful. Those bright blue eyes shining through.
No Debbie, but close.
She's no Debbie. But I really did enjoy the movie, so thanks for the recommendation.
Here's one thing about the Jon Voight that I didn't realize till Debbie and I watched it with the Eric Roberts commentary, is that Jon Voight was not that muscular. He was like a thin little guy. He wore a bodysuit.
I didn't know. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he wore a
bodysuit.
Yeah, with muscles and everything.
Was this the beginning of his overacting stuff? Like this? Did this one start his?
I mean, come on! He was nominated for an Oscar for this.
I'm just saying. Wasn't he in the Champ? Wasn't that him in the Champ?
Champ. He was great in the Champ.
Ricky Schroeder.
Yeah, Rick Schroeder. Now.
Rick Schroeder. Right.
Yeah. He's a good actor. I mean, he's a good actor.
You think
politics aside with him because he's
what was that?
Politics aside. Oh,
well, that's half of Hollywood, Ralph.
Well, what's that series for Showtime where he played the main characters?
Oh yeah, with Liev Schreiber,
Ray Donovan.
Yeah, Ray Donovan.
He's really good in that.
Yeah.
No, listen, I like him. He's
over the top, but it's like Al Pacino now.
Yeah, exactly. De Niro too. De Niro does it too.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
Well, Voight was great in Heat, playing that mumbling guy who gets the plans and all that. He's a good actor. Love the guy, actually. All right, I've been watching it's 3 shows in now on a series on Hulu called Under the Banner of Heaven.
Oh yeah, with Andrew Garfield,
starring Andrew Garfield.
How is it?
It's good. He plays a Mormon police officer who's investigating a murder. This is a true story. Investigating a murder that happens in Utah with the Mormons. And I didn't realize the history that they go through in this stuff, how the Mormons were created, how Mormons were just flat out assassinated in the 1800s, and how they developed their anti-government kind of stance and all this stuff based on their faith. It's just a fascinating film about like the Kennedys of the Mormons. I think they're called the Lafayettes or something. I forget their actual name. I think the book was written by John Krakauer. It's based on his book.
Is it about the bombings?
No, it's about
No,
a
it's
murder
murder.
a murder that takes place. A woman and
In the
her
80s.
daughter
Isn't it in the 80s, Ralph?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Again, I'm kind of.
How's Garfield in it?
He's fantastic. There's a
I
scene.
I love him as an actor.
There's a scene that he does going in the woods, confronting an issue that's happening at a house. And you've seen this scene a million times with cops who run in the woods with the guns out and all that. This is the first time I've actually seen somebody who I think would react the way I would react if that was going on. Nervous, shaky, head bobbing, doesn't want to stick his head out too much. Is a friend of his maybe in trouble or not in trouble, so he's trying to sort that out. I think he's doing a great job. And by the way, I watched the Spider-Man No Way Home last night. Yeah. I don't get it. Honestly,
He was great, wasn't he?
He was great. I did like the play between the three of them.
Yeah.
But
Tom Holland was really good.
Yeah, the whole Doctor Strange kind of being a dummy with the thing. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, didn't love it. Love this Under the Banner of Heaven. Yeah.
Because I know you're not a superhero guy movie.
He's not.
Not mostly, no.
He's not.
So what in the last 10 years, because I don't want to go back to Superman, what in the last 10 years do you think was your favorite superhero movie?
The series called Boys on Amazon. That's it. I mean, I think
That's
I like
it? No.
Well,
you didn't like Iron Man?
The original
I
Iron
guess
Man.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. But again, for me, I can't suspend enough stuff, especially in this one with all the bombings going on and everything going on. It was chaotic as hell. I don't know. I think probably the first Suicide Squad I actually enjoyed because it was sort of off kilter. Yeah.
It's not your cup of tea. That's all right.
Yeah. Again, I compare it to Superman that I saw in '78, I think, and it's kind of hard to come off that one. It's just too much. It's too much. There's too much stuff going on.
Superman is still my favorite.
And you still have to know.
It's funny. I was asked that question on Mother's Day. My favorite superhero movie, and I said that, and they were really shocked by it. And I said, "Look, you got to understand something. If not for that movie, none of these other movies would exist." Because they proved they could make a serious superhero movie and spend some money and get some great acting in it. So it's all
that
generation
did get it
too.
going. But I think it was Tim Burton's Batman that really just made people go, "Oh wait,
Batman wouldn't happen without Superman."
Well, I understand that, but it took a long time between
I don't disagree
Superman.
with you.
Superman and Batman took what? Batman was 89, Superman was 78, so
77, 78.
77. Yeah, that was a long time between.
But what's funny? If you watch both movies, Superman holds up better than Batman does today.
Yeah, well,
those two movies.
Superman's kind of in it's up here. It's in a place by itself, actually.
I agree with that.
All right,
Anyway.
so
Well, have you watched the show called The Offer about the making of The Godfather?
I have not. It's on Paramount, so I have to subscribe to that.
I want to start watching.
It's not getting great reviews.
No.
I think the acting's probably over the top, but I do want to see it because I'm so fascinated by The Godfather.
Yeah, that's why I figured you would have watched.
And the guy doing Robert Evans looks like he's doing a good job. When I watched the trailer for it.
Is that Miles there?
No, Miles is playing Ruddy. Miles is playing the producer Ruddy, who I don't know too much about. So I think it'll be a good watch, but I haven't got to that yet. I got to subscribe for a month and then get off, I guess. I got to let them all drop and then I can subscribe and then.
Yeah.
Watch them all in a couple days.
That's the way to watch them.
Yeah.
I did that with Moon Knight.
Yeah. So Under the Banner of Heaven, I'm on the third one. I'm interested enough to want to watch them. So
I want to watch that. Getting great reviews.
It's really good. He does a great job.
I watch stuff based on reviews, but
right. All right, so let's do this round robin with the 3 boxes. We're doing true life movies or movies based on true life.
Based on true stories.
True stories. So let's start with John. What the heck?
Well, I struggled with this because my knee jerk is to do one like Sergeant York or To Hell and Back, the Audie Murphy story, because these are ordinary people. I
predicted that's the one you would do.
Extraordinary things, and that always fascinates me. I went completely different. That's why I'm wearing the cap. Everyone knows I'm a huge baseball fan, and one of my favorite baseball movies is A League of Their Own. In 1992, directed by Penny Marshall, starring Tom Hanks, Madonna, Gina Davis, Lori Petty, John Lovitz. Great movie, funny movie. I'm a big baseball guy, the history of baseball. I knew about the All-American Women's League or Girls League, but I didn't know much about it. And that movie really opened the door for me about that league and how successful it really was. And I just love the movie because, one, all the women could play. I mean, these women could play baseball, and that was a prerequisite of being in the film. She turned down a lot of actresses because they just didn't look good playing baseball. And I was impressed by that. And Tom Hanks, what little screen time he had was hilarious. And his character, Jimmy Dugan, was based on ex-Red Sox slugger Jimmy Fox, who also coached in the Women's League. But he was great. That line, "There's no crying in baseball," is top 100 lines in film history. It's funny. It's got some heart to it towards the end of the movie. Gina Davis was brought in at the last minute because Deborah Winger was originally her role and quit because once they hired Madonna, she thought it was going to be a Madonna thing, and she wasn't interested in that. She was interested in a real story about the league. And Gina Davis, with very little time, ended up being the best baseball player out of all the women. In fact, that one catch she does behind her back, she actually did. She caught that ball. The split was done by a stunt woman. She could do the split, but she couldn't go down in the split. I just love it. And John Lovitz, what few scenes he has are hilarious. It's just a funny movie, a lot of heart, and it makes you really appreciate the women who played baseball and baseball. If you have a love of baseball, you have to love this movie. So that was my pick for this.
So basically, because the guy was a Red Sox. Tom Hanks.
Yeah, well, no, that's not why I love the movie.
I'll tell you why I love this movie so much. It was well done, the structure of it. And I love the ending, how they brought the original players
up again.
Yeah,
players from the actual league.
And they showed the actress playing and then the real woman in, her.
Yeah, and they actually had some lines. Some of the women from the real league had lines in the movie.
The one who married the plastic surgeon.
Yeah.
So funny. Here she looks like she's like.
Well, and the woman who played Gina Davis's older version looked like Gina Davis a little bit.
Yeah.
And they dubbed Gina Davis's voice, obviously. So that was Gina Davis's voice. But that was a beautiful scene at the end when they all go in, and then they look on the wall and there's Jimmy Dugan's plaque. It's just a movie that had a lot of heart, and like we talked about last week, it's all about relationships. Obviously, it was about the relationship between the sisters. I mean, that's what the movie was really about.
Yeah, the movie is it's the central thing is the two sisters, the competition between those two, and Lori Petty, her character Kit, I think is her name.
Yeah, Kit. Yep.
Always trying to live up to the sister, and then the ending happens the way the ending happens. It's also a story about men going to war and their wives being left back here, and those scenes where telegrams would come in.
Right.
And, Jimmy Dugan's relationship with Gina Davis's character. There's some left off scenes where they actually have a kiss and they may have had a relationship that shouldn't have happened. But her character, according to Gina Davis, is no way that woman ever would have cheated on her husband who was over having, at war and everything. And that scene where that telegram comes in at the end and nobody knows who's it going to be, that's a pretty serious scene. Yeah. And played very well. And I heard that Rosie O'Donnell was actually the best ball player.
Really?
She was till Gina Davis showed up.
Yeah.
She could really throw.
Rosie was great.
She could throw the 3 baseballs like she did.
Yeah.
She could actually do that.
Yeah.
And they padded her part too. It wasn't supposed to be that big a part.
Yeah, but she and Madonna, the way they played off each other was great. Now, Madonna, they stuck her on center field because she was supposed to be a shortstop, couldn't catch a ground ball.
Third baseman, right. She couldn't catch the grounder.
Couldn't catch a ground ball.
And they said all the injuries, like that one girl that had the big raspberry
that was all
leg,
legit.
That was real. And she said that was there for a year.
Yeah.
That big, huge
those things
raspberry.
take forever to go away. I don't know if you ever had one of those, but they take forever.
Have. Yeah.
And Tom Hanks, when he talks about his films, I saw something where he talks about his films and he always relates it to, he always brings his family to all these films. And when he was doing the movie, when he's on the island,
the Castaway, how they all stayed on the beach and he would take a boat, and he specifically called out A League of Their Own because they played baseball for 3 months, all of them, and how much fun they all had. He said this is his favorite. He said this is his favorite film that he's made. Yeah, this movie.
Really?
This also was sort of the start of his renaissance. I mean, his career kind of took I think he did Big in the same year.
Big. Well, the thing is, one thing I was listening to a podcast, and apparently Penny Marshall, when they did Big come first or second?
I think Big
was
came
before
this. Yeah.
Penny Marshall just felt that Tom Hanks couldn't act, and that he was only good in Big because she surrounded him with good actors.
Really?
Yeah. And apparently he used to joke about it, because then he got like announced for another film, and he's like, they better get some good actors for that one.
Well, that makes you love him more, the humility that he has. I love him as an actor. I think he's super fine, and he's great.
Oh, who told that story was Barry Sonnenfeld, who shot big. And she didn't.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. He shot big?
Yeah, she didn't like him either. She thought he did a horrible job. But she said she liked that he picked some good film stocks.
She sounds like a pain in the ass, if that's real.
Well, all the cast talks about her. They absolutely love her.
There's somebody, though, that sued her. She supposedly stole that script.
What, for Big?
No. For a League of Their Own? Yeah.
Really?
There's a woman out there who's definitely pissed off at Penny Marshall for taking that film.
I like the fact that it brought up something that most people just were not even aware of.
Yeah.
Most people didn't know there was a women's league.
No, and
their own.
You mentioned John Lovitz. He was fantastic in his scenes.
Well, I was on a women's soccer team, and our coaches, they were all men, and they were so wonderful. There's something about a team of women who have coaches that it's magic. Everybody falls in love with the coach. They do. It's just so sweet because they're teaching you how to, play this game. And
would they be grooming you for the game? Grooming?
Yeah, they would. It would be like, we would
like schools.
It would be like so much fun. I remember you dribble the ball with your feet and they would come at you to try and take the ball. So you know how to defend your possession of the ball. So it was just very fun. I mean, you don't usually.
Sean, I kind of feel a script rumbling around in my head about the women's soccer league coached by a guy.
Yeah, it should.
Coached by Pele.
Pele.
Is he a has-been actor?
Ronaldo.
Don't they all have to be has-been actors that work with you or not?
Most of them would fall over if they were.
Pele was in one film. He was in Victory, I think.
Yeah.
And he was very good. He did the windmill kick.
He was great.
Hey, all right, Pele, so Debbie, can you hit the ball? Can you hit the ball, Pele?
Yeah. I wonder if they had an advisor to instruct him in those things.
Yeah, exactly.
But what I was going to say was, you mentioned John Lovitz as a bit character. Also, David Strathairn. I don't know how. Yeah, Strathairn. He was great as I guess the guy who was running the league.
Yeah,
I think Marshall, her brother.
Yeah, he played
the chocolate
Wrigley.
fact. Yeah,
he played Wrigley. That's who started the real league. Was Wrigley.
Yeah,
he played a ripoff of that.
And then Tom Hanks' classic 53-minute pee. I mean, that's going.
Now, my favorite scene is.
Yeah.
You're missing the cutoff. We got to work on that scene. Is so
next year we'll work on it for next year because he doesn't want her to cry.
And then she smiled. Okay, yeah.
No, I like when he does it the first time, and the ump comes over and says, maybe you need to be a little more, something. He goes,
him like they're
yes, sir. Yes, sir. You look like you got a penis. I forget what he said. Your head looks like a penis or something.
You look like a little penis with that hat. What? Well, I didn't say anything.
So, yeah, I have a video that I made a long time ago called "Put Me In, Coach." It's all my favorite films. It's a montage of my favorite baseball films, done to center field and a couple other songs. And League of Their Own is all over that one. I just thought it was. I mean, Gina Davis, who's an athlete, she's a world-class archery person, and she was just perfect for that film. She was so good. And Lori Petty too. Lori Petty had
a great swing.
Everywhere Lori Petty go now, they all call her Kit. That's the only movie that anybody. Tank Girl doesn't matter. She's
Kit. A strange bird. Lori Petty's a little bit odd. I just watched an interview with all the ladies from the movie, and she was like out there, man.
What was she saying, John?
She's just when she talks, she's just weird. I can't even describe it to you. I'll have to send you what I just watched. They had a little reunion. Of course, Hanks wasn't there, but Lovitz was there, and a bunch of women from the team, including her. And she's just a little odd. It was funny, but she kept interrupting everyone else who was talking. It was just kind of weird. But she was perfect. I mean, they were perfect together. You got that definitely sister vibe from them. So I just love the movie, and it's one of these. Like I always say, if it comes on, especially certain scenes, I will just sit there and watch the rest of the movie. if I catch up to it at a certain point.
Well, the musical montages are just classic.
Yeah.
I mean, she did
With Eddie Mecca, the big ragu and the dance number.
Right.
Dancing with Madonna from Laverne and Shirley. And David Landers was the baseball announcer, Squiggy from Laverne and Shirley. He was one of the baseball announcers.
A lot of fun. Good film.
Yeah.
Talk about the sister relationship. That really nailed it. The younger sister. I mean, I know that you two guys have that thing going on.
Well, yeah, but I'm the Gina Davis character, Ralph's kid. I mean, it's reversed, but it's the same thing, you know.
Oh, wait a minute.
Wait a minute. Trying to always over. What?
You know what? Ask him about the MVP at the baseball camp and see how he reacts. Gina Davis. Okay, Gina. Okay. That's it. No.
We're gonna call you Gina.
Kit, just relax. All right, Kit, just relax.
Okay. All right, Sean and Debbie, what do you guys? Who wants to go first?
Go first, Debbie.
Well, I watched. I picked Hidden Figures. I love that film.
Well, wait a minute. First, you had another choice.
I had another film. It was going to be Apollo
13.
13.
Great. That's a great pick.
That's a tearjerker.
I thought, I'm going to go with Hidden Figures because that was very, the drama of somebody in space. You're so far away, and this stuff is heady because you have to, these women had to mathematically get this formula down, and it was unprecedented.
Yeah, just give us a little synopsis of what.
Okay, so these mathematicians, they're all African American women. In 1960, I'm making that up. I don't know exactly, but they worked at NASA, and they needed to get the approximate coordinates for when the spaceship was going to plummet to Earth. So they mathematically figured this out. The vectors. You need a lot of science, a lot of math, a lot of understanding to get those coordinates in to be exact, because here they are they need to be rescued when they land in the water. So all that going on in the height of the civil unrest in our country historically, and it was just beautiful. You see how these people that were discouraged in every aspect of life just really shine, like beautifully done. Their personalities just, they knew their place. You know what I mean? They knew their place. They were realists. These women knew, number one, they were women. Number two, they were African American, and they were very disadvantaged. They had to fight for everything. When she went into the judge to explain, she used a corner of his saying that about being first, and she was like that. She wanted to be first in the movie to get into this school, which was predominantly white.
White only, yeah.
No black person got into that school. But the beautiful thing that she said, the speech, now I don't know if that really was true, if it was just conjecture, but it was so interesting how she talked to the judge and explained her case, how she wanted to be the first black woman to make it in a white school, to get an engineering degree. And that was quite a thing.
And also, she explained to the judge that you'll be famous for doing this too. Yes. You'll be the first guy.
Why was she? I forget. What's the reason she's in court for that? Was she trying to sue to get in?
She couldn't go to the white school.
She wanted to be
the school wouldn't let her in.
Okay.
And this is something that was her. She was called to do this. She was very highly intelligent. More so than I could even. I mean, I understand a little bit about what they needed, what facilities you have to have. I mean, what mathematical stuff you have to do. Believe me, it's complicated. It is very complicated. And you could take years and you say, oh, math. Well, what's math? 2 times 5 is 10. No, it's like a whole world of knowledge that
No, it's genius level math she was doing, right?
Right.
Oh,
She was doing
yeah.
genius level
And
math.
something happened on the ship. It wasn't just they needed to land. There was something that happened that they had to recalculate, and the engineers couldn't come up with
Well, the
the
idea
solution.
is
It took math.
Wasn't there a scene in the film when
A heat shield problem.
Well, John Glenn wouldn't take off until she ratified the numbers.
Right.
And that's based on that happened.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a story of women, African-American women who are being looked at as shouldn't be there. Somebody's fighting. Of course, it's the old trope of Kevin Costner played the white guy who basically got him somehow. I remember he put up a sign or something. I forget.
No, he knocked down the bathroom sign.
Knocked down the signs. Okay, so
because she had to go to a different building to go to the bathroom.
Right.
Yeah, that was
I mean, the trope of the white guy going in and saving these ladies. I mean, whether it happened or not, it's good stuff because Costner played it well. And, it was a film about people who are not recognized for not equal, both as women and as African-American women. And the scene where John Glenn says, it seems like like they pulled it out of their ass to make that scene, like a dramatic license, but it's actually happened. John Glenn said, I'm not leaving until she tells me it's okay to go.
Yeah.
And that's pretty powerful.
Yeah. And you know what? I tell you what, I did want to watch Apollo 13 again. So
I did too.
That movie still gets me, even though you know what's happening every time.
You know exactly what's going to happen. You know they lived, but it's just an amazing picture. But I really liked this film when we first saw it. Hidden Figures. But I was afraid. I thought it was going to have the Disney effect because it's a Disney picture. That and a lot of those Disney pictures, particularly the inspiring ones, are sort of like, to me, like, what was that movie we watched about Jamaica?
Cool Runnings.
Cool Runnings. It's sort of like, yeah, it's inspiring, but it's like cheap inspiring, and a lot of those Disney features don't always hold up to second viewings. It was sort of like with Cool Runnings. We said, yes, it's a good movie. Yes, we enjoyed it, but it's not a great film. But this one, I still think, watching it the second time, very good performances, very good script, looked great. This one held up as a film. So I was glad she picked it because it's something I would have never watched again. And frankly, it's like when I saw E.T., that was like a magical moment. But when I saw that film, I knew one thing. I would never feel the same way about it again. So literally, I have never seen E.T. again.
Wow.
So I felt I wouldn't like this film if I saw it again, but I did like it, which makes me think that maybe I can watch E.T.
Well, the Apollo 13 is a perfect example of a film that you'd never expect to get the same feelings you get watching that. And every time I see it, I get choked up the same time. I'm waiting for the ship to come through the clouds.
Yeah.
So that holds up every single time for me. I don't know if I've seen Hidden Figures. I don't think it's not one of those ones I'd rewatch over and over. The story is interesting. And I forget the actress who plays the lead. She does a great job.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And I
liked it. I liked it because one, I didn't know anything about it.
Right.
I never heard of this before till this movie. I also think they handled they weren't preachy about the race. They at that time it was accepted. So the women, it's not that they weren't fighting for it. They were, but they didn't hit you over the head with it. And also, even with all the challenges that they faced, they were single of purpose of why they were there.
Yeah.
Everything was about solving the problem,
Right.
even with all that crap going on. And they never lost sight of that. And I really like that about this movie. And frankly, then you hear what happened to them after this. And they were all so super successful in their careers. It was incredible. And Kevin Costner was really good in this movie too. And he wasn't perfect. I mean, at the beginning of the movie, he wasn't then because he was oblivious to what was going on. That alone was a fault of his. And then once he realized that she had to go to 3 buildings to go to the bathroom, it was taking her a half an hour to go. He was like, what are we doing here? We're here to solve a problem. I really like that about this movie. So
I hope that was actually true. That's all I'm saying. I hope
listen, there's always dramatic license, but I mean, it seems to make sense that
Yes,
if
you-
they were really
logically-
having to do that,
You wouldn't.
That makes no
but
sense.
it seems like one of those things they would.
Right.
today.
right.
But it seems like one of those things
the
that would.
white savior today if it wasn't
Right.
true.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Well, but I mean, the real person, put his reputation on the line with these women. He wasn't a white savior. He just happened to be the guy that was in charge.
I know.
Who
That's
happened to be white.
They use. He is not,
Oh,
because the women did it themselves
right.
because they were smart and they stayed focused on the problem
That's right.
and they had talent that the people needed.
Right.
And that was the most important thing.
Yeah.
It's funny because that guy who's always a good guy, the guy from Young Sheldon, what's his
Parsons.
Yeah, gets to be kind of a dick.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He didn't want him there.
Yeah. So it's kind of funny because he's like the nice guy on the hero on a TV sitcom, and he goes and appears in this movie, and he's like the jerk.
He's like prissy.
Yeah, he's like a prissy kind of.
Well, they were cutting in on his turf.
Yeah, and
But they were right, and he was wrong. I mean,
Well, I like the part where they redacted the information and she held it up to the light. And then he said, well, you got to fix this, Parsons or whatever his name. What was his name? The
I
character?
forgot the character.
Pete.
Pete.
I don't know. I just made that
You
up.
made that up.
That's the son.
Which was an issue in itself. I mean, she not only solved the problem, but she shined the light on the situation. You can't have that. That's spy stuff.
Right.
They if there's a problem like that, that's systematic. You got to look into that because you don't want the Chinese people or the Russians finding
Get darker ink.
Get darker.
Taraji Henson is in Octavia Spencer with the leads in that. I would give props out there.
I think there were some Oscar nominations in this one.
Yeah. But good flick. I enjoyed this. Good call, Deb.
All right. Hidden figures.
Either one would have been good.
Hidden numbers. Hidden figures.
Hidden figures. Hidden numbers. All right, Sean, what'd you pick?
Well, I resisted the urge to go with The Exorcist.
That is based on a true story.
Yeah, it is.
Right here in
I
Silver Spring,
decided to
Maryland.
go with, when we do the round robins, it's sort of like, well, what's your favorite one? First thing I do is I go in and walk over to my Blu-ray collection because those are the films, I love, so.
Well, the other thing about this particular subject is really every movie is based on some sort of true story. There's a kernel of truth in every, like Jeremiah Johnson. That's true. That's based on a true story. The Revenant. That's based on it. Like
Airplane?
all these movies. Airplane is based on a. Well, no. Okay, so there's one.
So
Okay.
And Batman. Right. You're right. I'm wrong.
okay. So I think I just proved your point.
So Sean, you look at your Blu-ray collection and you go, all these could be true stories.
What did
I saw a certain Martin Scorsese film called Goodfellas, which of course I saw in the theaters when it was released a number of times. No surprise. And it won. It's a true story. It has a story of Henry Hill, half Italian, half Irish, who gets involved with the mafia.
That combination is lethal.
Yeah.
Irish and Italian.
That's right.
Well, and you can't be made man. There's
Sean
that.
Murphy, Sean Paul.
All my life, I just wanted to be a gangster.
So it's his story about from when he's a boy and he sees the gangsters across the street at like the cab stand and wants to be one of them. He meets the gangsters. He starts working for them. And eventually the life becomes too much for him. He becomes a drug dealer and eventually gets arrested. And because he wasn't allowed to deal drugs, he's going to be murdered by his friends. So he becomes a rat in the end. And has to live a middle class life, and it's an
He's a
amazing.
schmuck.
Yeah,
I'm a schmuck.
yeah. It's an amazing piece of filmmaking, and it's a script that breaks like all the rules. I'm not a no voiceover Nazi. I'll tell you, when I taught at Towson, a lot of the teachers there, would not told the kids they couldn't use voiceover. I mean, the film is all voiceover, and so was Casino that followed. And the funny thing is, when I taught, I would do the Oscar-nominated scripts. I'd spend a day and go through them. Practically all of them broke all the rules we taught. So it's like there are no.
Well, and the way it starts with Henry Hill, but then Lorraine Bracco ends up.
Now that is the real radical break, because it changes the point of view of the film.
Right.
Because the film is Henry Hill's story. He's telling us the story, and then suddenly it becomes the wife's story.
Yeah.
And then when
very powerful.
Scorsese's next film that he went to the gangster milieu is Casino, which is nowhere near as good. Though I'll put the first act of Casino against anybody, like how they explain how casinos work, how they steal, and how they got financed. That's all great. But in that one, once again, it's De Niro's story, and then it's the wife's story. She's giving voiceover, and Joe Pesci's giving voiceover. So it's a great film. It's a great character study. You really can't say that Henry Hill reforms because essentially he got caught.
Well, also the portrayal of Henry Hill, having Ray Liotta play Henry Hill, glamorizes what Henry, because if you really look at Henry Hill and listen to him, he is a Weasley little bastard.
Yeah.
He is. Just listening to him.
He was on Howard Stern all the time.
Yeah, all the time. And Liotta just crushed it.
Yeah.
His portrayal of Henry Hill in this one. And I think this was one of his, I don't know if Something Wild was before this one. But
it was, he got this off of Something Wild.
Something Wild, yeah, because the way he played Something Wild.
Yeah.
And, it's Scorsese crushing it too.
This is like Scorsese at his best.
Oh my God.
Because not only is it dark, it deals with as many themes, but it's also despite some scenes of serious violence, it's also very enjoyable. It's a very engaging film, even if you're not just like a huge fan of crime or mafia movies. It's an interesting story. It's about a guy. Now, one thing Henry Hill always says, and I don't believe it's true, is that he never killed anybody.
Yeah.
But technically speaking, like when they killed a guy, Batts, the made man, the fact that he was there and closed the door, he's an accomplice to murder.
Right.
When, he is essentially could have been prosecuted for murder. But he says he never killed anybody, which is like, I guess, the line he wasn't going to cross. But you watch him crossing all sorts of lines in this film, and talk about the real people. I remember reading the year it came out, they did a big interview with Henry Hill in Premiere Magazine. And they said, what's the biggest mistake? What's the thing that the film makes that's not the least accurate? And he goes, oh, that's easy. He goes, they made Nicky way too nice. Now, in this film, he's not nice. God. So that should tell you what kind of guy he really was. But he goes, the real Nicky, he goes, he would have killed me at the drop of a hat and would drop the hat himself. And he's like, that guy was like a cold sociopathic killer. And this,
and I don't think Scorsese, I think I've heard or read where he's mentioned that I don't think he went out to glamorize these guys. Like he was trying to show them in there, like how crass they are, and that whole stuff about, when they do the heist and everybody's coming in with their pink Cadillacs and their, fur coats for their wives, how just dumb these guys are.
And the wife points it out in the scene where she goes to like the makeup party or whatever, about how, the women all look old and beaten up, and they all have like tacky clothes that are just thrown together. But, what's really appealing is like in the beginning, when you're looking at through Henry Hill's boyish eyes, and they're at the cab stand and the big Cadillac pulls up, the guy steps out, the Cadillac lifts back up. You see the shoes, you see the suits and everything. So I think he does an accurate job of showing why he would think being a gangster is glamorous.
For a kid, he's looking through the kid's eyes.
And, and the reality is, because I've read about this a lot, is that usually you get, I think Henry Hill even said this, you get 10 years. When you're a career criminal like that and you're an organized crime, you get about 10 years where you're probably not going to go to jail unless you make a mistake. But after about 10 years, the people in law enforcement know you enough that they're eventually going to get you, said sometime or another. And you know what? There's another scene that always gets a lot of oohs and ahs when he goes to jail and they're preparing that meal in jail. and that guy is cutting that garlic with the razor blade. And if you ever see it in the theater, it's like, it's a great moment when you see the garlic like
melts.
So and that's the kind of detail the Godfather had. It was like Robert Evans told Coppola he wants to smell the spaghetti.
Yeah.
And I think you smell the spaghetti.
Leave the gun, take the cannoli.
Yeah, exactly. And I think,
but again, back to, I just think that, I don't know. I mean, those guys did some, the movie starts with them stabbing the guy in the back of the trunk. That's how this movie starts.
Really ugly, brutal crime.
Right. And then that scene where they go
too much.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just don't know if he meant to because people walked away.
He wasn't glamorizing. He was showing working class gangsters. That's what he was.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is when people saw Wall Street, the reaction was, I want to be like Gecko, right? So they see this film and they're like, I think I want to be a gangster. So it kind of glamorizes the life, which I don't think he was really trying to do. Like you're saying, he's trying to show these guys.
I think it starts off that way, but then in the end,
the drugs changed everything.
Of glamorizing
the drugs is why everybody.
I like this movie because, frankly, everybody in it is perfect. The cast, it's like The Godfather. Every character in this movie is perfectly cast, and they're all at the top of their game. And that scene at the end where he's paranoid and he's the helicopter, that whole scene you can't hear that song without thinking about this movie. Yeah. Anytime it comes on, and the way he played it with the voiceover, which is just getting more manic as it goes on. It's just a great scene.
No, they captured that. He captured that.
Yeah.
That paranoia, that drug paranoia.
It's hard.
What was that?
It's hard not to glamorize it if you find the lifestyle appealing. That's like, the mob was opposed to The Godfather. But in a sense, once the movie came out, it was a great advertisement for the mob.
But The Godfather was about family.
Yeah.
The Godfather was about family. This was about what happens to you in this life. And if you look what happens to almost all of them, it was all bad.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I don't think it's glamorized.
No. By the end, practically kills everyone in his family.
Right. That scene with De Niro.
In the mob, though, like certain things that they had stopped doing decades earlier, like kissing people's rings and things like that.
Yeah.
After The Godfather came out, the people started doing those same traditions again, inside the mob. So it's sort of like the movie's inspired by the mob, but it inspired it back. And it's harder, I think, if you were a mobster to like Henry Hill, because ultimately it's a turncoat,
right?
A rat,
right?
In their mind.
Why is he still alive? This is what I don't get. He's out there saying he ratted.
Yeah,
and he's like, well, the people who wanted me dead are all dead.
That's right. They're all gone.
And it's like,
what do they get? What do they get out of it?
Yeah.
I think Kenji had met Henry Hill, and I think he met that other guy, Francesi, too, who was another really famous guy. So if we do this movie, we'll have to invite Kenji back on the podcast, just to get more of a look into the mob life. Plus he's such a great guest.
But nobody does music the way Scorsese. And this is, I forgot to mention this. When I mentioned Streets of Fire, that I didn't like the way Walter Hill shot the music. Imagine Scorsese like doing that film.
Yeah.
What that would have been. And like you talk about that scene at the end, the paranoid helicopter scene.
Yeah.
That's all editing and music. And they keep cutting back to his brother stirring the spaghetti.
But in fairness to Hill, MTV just started. So that kind of shooting of music wasn't really prevalent back then.
You keep saying
it's the truth. By the way, Henry Hill died in 2012.
Yeah.
So just so you know, he's not alive anymore, Rob.
There you go.
So we can talk about him?
Yeah, so we can talk about him. We can't get him on the show.
No, but I understand what you're saying completely. And the last thing, when I was watching it, and I have this feeling a lot, is how much the music must have cost in this budget. This was a big budget film. And one of the things, because I heard another podcast about it, they were talking about it. One scene that was kind of improvised is one that many people think is the best scene in the film. It's when, what, am I funny? You think I'm funny?
Yeah, all improvised.
And the studio was very upset that they shot this scene. And somebody flew out when they shot it. And it's like, this isn't in the script. I don't want you to do this. And they were very pissed off that they shot this scene. And as a result, something that Scorsese needed later to shoot, and they needed to get budget approval, the guy said no. And he said no, mainly because he was pissed off about that scene. And there's one other shot we got to talk.
It's almost the opening shot, the one take.
Yeah, and when they go to the Copacabana. Yeah.
It's awesome.
And apparently they get through the whole thing, and at least twice Henny Youngman blew the take because he didn't realize when he was like supposed to talk, and he made mistakes. He did it twice.
That's a great
One
shot.
guy you think that could just say what he was supposed to say,
No.
On automatic pilot. Apparently he blew it a couple times.
Yeah,
So-
and anybody tries to recreate that shot.
Oh, the player recreated it, didn't
Right.
they?
They're like, yeah. Well,
It's an amazing shot. And what's his name when they did Boogie Nights?
Yeah, but it's from Touch
Right.
of Evil.
Yeah.
That's what
Boogie
it's
Nights
from.
did that even more so because he said,
Well, that's
"I'll
definitely
give him-"
that's a direct homage to the Godfather.
Yeah, but he said,
No, it's
"I'll
Touch of
go
Evil.
get him because I took the
Touch of
camera into the war
Orson Welles.
and back out." The Boogie Nights scene at the party,
Yeah.
went into the water. But I was watching it with a guy who was an AD, and we were watching that movie and that scene. We were particularly watching that shot, and he's like, "Whoa, go back." Well, let's watch it slow because we had the DVD, and there's an edit.
Oh.
And they're coming out of the water. You could, and if you watch it frame by frame, you
Well,
could
good.
see-
That's the magic of editing right there. Because you didn't
that's
know
what
that.
that's what we.
Well,
Well,
if I watch it frame by frame, then I would notice it.
Well, if you do that, yes, but you're not supposed to do that. But that's
All
fine.
right, Ralph. Well, you're the only one left. So what uplifting
Oh,
film
we done
did you
talking about
pick?
Goodfellas?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's
I would say it's a fabulous film.
we don't
John
yeah,
said,
we love Goodfellas.
I mean, what
Everybody
can
in
we
it is perfect.
what can we say that hasn't been said? Which is it's just fascinating. It's a great film, and it'll be around forever. That film, just like the one I'm about to talk about. 2007.
I don't know about that.
Zodiac,
Oh.
directed by the master David Fincher, starring Jake Gyllenhaal, Mark Ruffalo, Brian Cox, Robert Downey Jr., Anthony Edwards, and John Carroll Lynch as one of the iterations of the Zodiac Killer. This is a fantastic film done by a fantastic director. It's about the Zodiac killings that took place between 1973 and 83 or 1969 and 83, unsolved, based on a book by
Those killings went on that long?
Yeah.
well, there's a considerable dispute how many killings were actually.
They don't quit. That's what I mean. It's unsolved. And it's based on a book by Robert Graysmith, who actually did 2 books. In the first book, he never mentions who he thinks is the killer. In the second book, he actually uses his name, Anthony Lee, Arthur Lee Allen, I'm sorry, who David Fincher, that's his conclusion in this film, who he thinks is the killer. David Fincher grew up in northern San Francisco in the 70s. So he knew all about the lore of the Zodiac. And he painstakingly recreated scenes based on victims who lived. A couple of the guys lived. He had them down at the shoot. He had the cop that was playing, that Mark Ruffalo played, David Toshke, was a consultant on the thing. As a matter of fact, handed out cookies, what do you call them, those cookies? Animal crackers to everybody. It's a little gift from him. And if you've seen the film, it's a procedural with some brutal scenes, well-shot brutal scenes of what the Zodiac, whoever the Zodiac was doing in Northern California. Goes on for 2 hours and 40 minutes. And basically, it just shows how people's lives are ripped apart by obsession and not being able to solve a crime that goes on forever. And it's a stunning film. It's one of his best. It's a film I use when I edit because I love the pace of the film, and I have every scene. I know exactly where every scene's going to go, and it keeps my rhythm of editing going. And there's only one scene.
I'm confused. I have not seen this movie. So is it about the police trying to find him, or is it about reporters trying to solve it?
Yes.
Amateurs, reporters.
It's both?
It's everything.
Both. Robert Graysmith was a cartoonist in this, I think, the San Francisco Chronicle. Robert Downey Jr. plays one of the writers who was a crime beat writer. So it's everyone's, and Mark Ruffalo plays Dave Toshke, who is based on Steve McQueen and Bullet based him on Dave Toshke, right? Dirty Harry, Scorpio, in Dirty Harry is just modeled after the Zodiac, including sending the letters, because we all know the Zodiac sent the ciphers to the newspaper and see if you can find who I am. So that's where all the ciphers come from. That's what they did in Dirty Harry. There's even a scene in this film where Toschi goes to see Dirty Harry, and everyone's giving him shit because Dirty Harry solved the crime like that, and they're still trying to find this guy. Fincher does this great thing where he uses a Transamerica building, the big building in San Francisco that's a pyramid. He does this time lapse to show how 5 years go by, and he actually shows the building of that to show how time passes. And it really is about the obsession. And it turns out Graysmith became super obsessed with trying to, because he could figure out the ciphers. He was one of the first ones to break the ciphers. So he was obsessed with trying to find this.
Wait, this is a cartoonist?
Yes.
So why was he able to break the cipher?
He had he's been on the spectrum a little bit. So he had this puzzle thing that he was doing, and he got obsessed with the puzzles. Broke up a marriage that he had. Dave Toschi spent years trying to figure out what was going on. He was obsessed about it.
So what time frame does this movie?
I think 70s.
60s.
No, late. I think 70s, probably about 6-7 years, from 72 to. The movie ends with a couple of things. The movie ends with one of the victims coming in and basically pointing out Arthur Lee Allen as saying, "That's the guy who shot me in the face. That's the guy." And then Jake Gyllenhaal as Graysmith goes into this hardware store, and it's when he thinks he sees this guy, Arthur Lee Allen, who he has determined is the killer. And it's the tension that we all know what Fincher does. The tension he builds in this is amazing. The obsessiveness, both in his filmmaking and what's going on in the film, is just apparent right there. You're watching these people break down for years because they can't figure out what's going on and how it destroyed everybody's lives. And it's just a fascinating film. And there's only one scene. There's one scene at Lake Berryessa where Fincher literally brought in a tree to plant a tree where he thought that tree should be from when he was growing up. And it's the only scene I can't really watch because it's done completely without music. The Zodiac walks out from behind a tree. This couple is just laying there, and he comes and attacks the two of them. And we're seeing it from the guy survived, the woman died. And you're watching it through her eyes as she's looking up as the boyfriend's getting stabbed. He walks away from the boyfriend. Now he's coming over to her, and she's losing her mind, and he basically just destroys her. All done. I mean, it sounds awful, but it's done, it's not gross. It's just very visceral, just from what your reaction, you're watching her. It's a tough scene to watch, and it's probably the most brutal scene in the film. But it sets up this kind of dread that this guy walked around with an executioner's mask on, and he'd walk out of the woods and just talk to people and do. I mean, just some terrible stuff. And they're not quite sure that this is the guy. There's many theories about who it might be.
Somebody else.
Yeah.
They say they've identified another guy, Gary Francis Post.
It actually ends with them saying they tested Arthur Lee Allen's DNA and it came up inconclusive, right?
Yeah.
But this was Fincher's theory that, and Graysmith, as well, they both believe that this was the guy. But it's just an amazing film about police procedure, what these guys have to do, how many cranks come out when they get this information that, they're trying to find this person, and all these people are coming saying that they're the killer, and all the stuff they have to sift through, and how one judge doesn't give them a search warrant for something that they had it. He was also ambidextrous. So he's writing the ciphers in his right hand, but the rest of his life, this is Arthur Lee Allen, writes with his left hand. The only time they didn't get any letters is when Arthur Lee Allen was in jail for child molestation or something. And then as soon as he gets out, he starts writing the letters again, so it's all this just an amazing police procedural, which I love, like Law and Order type, just give me the bone stuff. And this goes on for 2 hours and 40 minutes. Sounds like a long time, but it's a very, very satisfying film. And John, you've never seen this one.
Never.
Wow.
I'm not, that's, I'll watch it.
But it's not there's some really crass Zodiac films out there. Yeah. That are very, not as clean and good, not as well crafted as this one. This is great. This is a Fincher. This is a masterpiece.
I'll check it out. I love David Fincher, so I'll check it out.
By David Fincher.
Yeah. Debbie, have you ever seen this movie?
What
we saw it.
Did you like it?
Yeah. Well, there again, the liking of
the movie,
right. It was definitely holding your attention. It was it was a solving puzzle, right? I
Right.
think it was like a exercise in your brain to try and put all the pieces together, and you still don't really know.
Well, it's also just a study in how everybody just gets broken. All of them get broken. The obsession just breaks every single one of them. Robert Downey Jr. plays a reporter who ends up on a houseboat, just babbling to himself practically. Jake Gyllenhaal as Robert Graysmith loses his family because his wife is worried that because the Zodiac would call people and start breathing heavy. And if he thought you were in the newspaper talking about him, he would give you a call. And,
what I don't understand is, how did this cartoonist get involved with this at all?
They had the way the movie sets it up is they have an editorial meeting every morning. So they all see, all the crime reporters are in there, the cartoonist is in there, the publisher's in there, the editor's in there. Okay, today we're going to talk about this. A woman walks in with the first Zodiac letter, and it's the cipher. And it gets passed around, and Graysmith gets a hold of it, and he obsesses about that cipher and ends up helping them break down what the cipher.
Okay, I got it.
And how, and it's his years long. He was writing these after the police had given up on it. It's an unsolved crime we can't deal with anymore. Graysmith came back and starts interviewing the policemen that were involved in it, and starts finding new clues that they never had, stuff that they couldn't find because they were doing other stuff and just got too busy. And he just came obsessively at these guys to the point where they think he may have solved who this person was. And
is the guy they think it is still alive?
No, he died. He had a heart attack a week before they were going to take him in to test.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But they've subsequently are mostly sure it's another person.
There's some guy that came out that said it was his father. But Fincher took the approach with Graysmith that this is the guy and this is the movie I'm going to do.
They apparently found some forensic evidence to get this guy, Gary Post.
Yeah. There's one scene, John, where the guy who did the voice of Roger Rabbit.
Yeah. Charles Fleischer.
Right. Charles Fleischer, it's like a comedian. There's a scene where Graysmith goes to interview him because he owned a movie theater. Right. And supposedly the Zodiac worked at that movie theater because the movie he loved was the one about hunting people.
Most Dangerous Game.
Most Dangerous Game.
So Chris Tucker mentioned to us.
So Graysmith breaks down this stuff and he realizes this guy loved the Most Dangerous Game. He finds this movie theater that Most Dangerous Game played at, and he thinks that Zodiac, his theory is Zodiac made the poster. Charles Fleischer owns the movie theater. So excuse me, Gyllenhaal's interviewing him in his home, and it's the most frightening scene because they end up down in a basement.
Yeah.
And there's no nothing's cluing in that could be a threat, and it's the most haunting, scary scene.
They're implying that this guy's the guy?
They were implying that he could be, but it seemed like Charles Fleischer was just messing with Graysmith a little bit.
Oh.
It's a great scene, and it's just
scary.
terrifying.
You're scared, right? At that moment, you're thinking, get out of that house.
Because there's this whole thing about they figured out that the Zodiac might live in a house that has a basement, and in California, there are not a lot of houses with basements, blah, blah, blah. Fleischer had a house with a basement, and Gyllenhaal's like, there's not many houses. He goes, I have one, and they go down. And as they're down there, he's hearing creaking like somebody's walking. It's just so well done.
That sounds like the end of Silence of the Lambs.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Fincher can ratchet up tension just on a scene that, you'd think is no big deal.
It's sort of like Apollo 13 we were mentioning. He lives because he wrote the book, but you're still afraid he's going to
Exactly. 100%. But you're still in it with him. You're in his moment. And like I said, the scene where the woman's seeing him stab his boyfriend and then come at her, it's just like, and there's also a great scene where he's going down the road with the woman from Say Anything. I forget her name.
Ione Skye?
Yes. And he basically says her car breaks down. He pretends to fix the tire, but he actually loosened it so it'd come off again. He picks her up. And she goes, it's really nice that you're helping me. And she had a baby. He didn't know she had a baby. So she's sitting in the front seat. He goes, I didn't know you had a baby with you. She goes, why is that a problem? He goes, no, nothing matters. And about 5 minutes later, he goes, after I kill you, I'm going to throw your baby out the window. It's like, oh my God.
And who played this guy? Anybody you know?
Well, Fincher used 3 different people. To play, because they couldn't prove that there was the one person. So you'd hear a little, and he'd use the 3 voices. He'd blend the 3 voices whenever the Zodiac talked, so that you couldn't quite get a handle. But it's John Carroll Lynch. He is. He's a great Guy,
Yeah.
he's
You're right.
he was the husband in Fargo. We saw. Remember The Invitation, Sean? The Invitation.
He was the guy that was that killed somebody.
Well, he was one of the cultists that came in.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen this guy in all kinds of stuff, John. He's in everything. American Horror Story. He played that weird clown, I think. But he was. And John, there's a scene they do.
Oh yeah, I see who it is.
There's an interrogation in a metal shop that supposedly Arthur Lee Allen worked in. That is again, just the ratchet up the tension was just insane.
But do you think the film had to be that long?
It couldn't be long enough for me.
Yeah,
it could be. And
I think a no good film is too long and no bad.
Yeah,
film.
And it drags slightly after you realize that now we're just going to follow Graysmith and his obsession.
Yeah,
but they keep coming back to him visiting Tosky and all the other cops that you've seen an hour earlier who have given up, but he keeps coming back and he's bothering them. He's driving them crazy, but he's slowly getting at things that they hadn't found. So fascinating film. It's just fantastic.
I'll check it out.
David Fincher at his best.
All right.
At his best.
You think that's his best film?
For me, I think it's his best film.
Better than Seven?
Yes.
Wow.
Better than that lame Aliens movie he did?
Alien 3
that
is
was the studio's fault. That wasn't his fault.
That's not his fault.
Studio butchered that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me it's his masterpiece.
It's his Finchiest?
It is definitely his Finchiest. And when you ever see Mindhunter? His series he did on Netflix?
I'm not big into the serial killers, Ralph.
Well, because in this film, in the Mindhunter series, they actually interview people playing the real series. It's just
I know what it's about, but that's too I don't enjoy that.
There you go. Well, then you'll hate
Life's Too Short.
Zodiac. But
no,
you should watch it
it
anyway.
Sounds like it's not just a slasher. I mean, it's not.
It
just
is not a slasher. No, it's not.
It's a procedural drama. That's what it sounds like.
That's right.
Yeah. So that I could sit through.
Yeah, it's definitely a procedural.
It's a film about obsession and how obsession ruins your life. So,
like Moby Dick.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So we're not going to do a round robin next week because, believe it or not, I don't know how this happened. We have a fan from LA who's a screenwriter, Sean.
Did our fan subscribe?
I have no idea.
Did he smash the like button?
I have no idea.
All
I know is he called. He I don't know how he emailed. Somehow I got an email.
He emailed us through SoundCloud,
which I don't understand.
He was an audio listener, but he said he actually watches us because I warned him that we are a visual.
Right.
Yes.
No, he said he watched us.
Especially Debbie when she gets all gussied up.
So his name is Gary Goldstein. Gary Goldstein is a screenwriter in LA. I guess he writes a lot of Lifetime films, according to Sean.
Well,
he's also
romance. Cable movie.
Okay, romance. But he's also a movie critic for the LA Times. So
does he review his own movies?
I have no idea. I doubt he does.
Interesting. We'll have to ask him.
You'll have to ask him. And he's a 70s guy. The good news about this man is he's a 70s guy.
Yeah.
Good news for you.
And that's what I said. And he loved the premise. He loves the original premise of the podcast, which was we would bring 70s films to the millennials. Of course, all the millennials quit. The
millennials.
So he's going to join us.
That's right.
He is going to join us next week to discuss Taxi Driver,
which I have never seen the whole movie.
There you go. So now you get to watch it.
Nope.
And
I'm looking forward to it, actually.
We will talk to Gary Goldstein about Taxi Driver and see where that leads.
And he worked on Streets of Fire. Did you already say that?
Yes, he was he worked in marketing for Streets of Fire, and he told us he knew by Monday morning, the movie came out on a Friday, he knew by Monday morning it was a loser.
Yeah.
So, it'll be, I think I told him we'll do a little What You Watch, but we really want to ask him questions about Streets of Fire.
We're going to have a little discussion about one of my favorite movies, Streets of Fire.
Right. Because a few of us didn't like that film. Right.
Most of you didn't like it.
Right.
Chris and I were the only ones who really liked it. But I think maybe you guys will sing a different tune next week.
I can't figure you out sometimes because you like that film.
I did.
And
I do.
I just can't see you liking it.
Well, I got to remember, Debbie, MTV had not come out just yet, so we can't blame Walter Hill for shitty music video work, okay? Because MTV hadn't been out, and nobody had ever shot music before MTV, I guess.
No, that's not what I said.
Well, that's what it sounds like.
You're just being a dick.
Kit, okay? You need to just calm down, Kit.
Kit,
Okay.
We'll see. Oh, look. Jealousy's rearing its ugly head. Look at that. Oh, look at that. Ooh,
All right,
jealous.
so don't let this stuff jump up when Gary's here. Okay, we're trying to impress the guy. All right.
Listen, I'm the one who liked the film. He's gonna love me.
Okay, we'll see.
He tried to make the movie a hit.
Right.
John tried to
So
make
next week we're gonna have a full house because this guy's coming from LA Times. Everybody wants to join in now.
So we'll each have 2 minutes. That's gonna be awesome.
You got 30 seconds each.
Gonna be awesome.
We got to let Gary, give Gary a little
The
time.
fair weather fans will be in for that one.
Right.
Does Hassan and Chris want to do it?
I'll offer them. See what happens.
How about Wojo and Brad? Are they around?
We'll bring them all back.
See if they want to do it.
But this is the first time somebody's reached out.
Yeah,
who
that's
has
pretty
watched
cool.
us and wants to be on the show. That's pretty amazing. So
what you're saying is we're making a difference.
I think
in this person's world, we've made a difference.
In this person's life, maybe we have, and that's all that matters. One at a time. One at a time.
All we ask is that you smash the like button. That's it.
That's right.
I mean,
And here's
we barely. Go ahead, Deb. What, hon?
here's the most important thing. We love anybody who likes us. Because it's all about right?
That's
It
been
is
my
about.
motto.
It's all about love.
I like anybody that likes me.
If you love
That's my
movies,
motto.
we love you.
You know what Charles Manson used to say? Hey, I'm a mirror. You come at me with love, that's what you get back. But if you come at me with a fist, that's what you get back. And, I try to live my life by his.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to live by somebody's life, I'd make it
I
Charles.
think Charlie
Manson.
Manson
Live
is the
by your
first one I would
life.
think of.
Yeah, you know what? I got to say, did you ever listen to Manson's album? Speaking of
No. No.
the Beach
Was he on
Boys
Solid
covered
Gold?
one of his songs. But, I like Manson's version better. I was listening to his music, and I'm kind of grooving to it, and I'm like, hey, I know where he's coming from. I'm like, ooh, that's not a good song.
Oh, he was buddies with one of the Beach Boys, right?
Yeah, Dennis Wilson.
Yeah.
And they stole his song. No wonder he wanted to kill him. I was reading Neil Young's, incoherent autobiography, and it's because it just jumps around like it makes no
it's
sense.
impossible to read, but you got to get.
But then one man, he's like, Charlie Manson was a really good singer-songwriter. His problem was he was just inconsistent. And that might be one of his problems.
Other than that,
Plus,
it wasn't an easy read as Chapel Street was. Now that was a good read.
Yeah, well, thank you very much.
I blew through that book. That was awesome.
You want to see a cool Charlie Manson? Watch Mindhunter season 2.
Yeah.
They interview Charlie Manson. It's fantastic.
Really?
So,
The real one?
No, they
I
They
wanna-
also interview David Berkowitz. They mix
Watch Geraldo's interview.
they mix
with Charlie
fictional
Manson.
fictional
That's a good
serial
interview.
killers with real serial killers. It's great.
when Geraldo got there to interview him, because the lights and everything.
Yeah.
So Manson sits down. He sits there for a minute, looks around, and then he goes to Geraldo and goes, "Am I crazy or is it hot in here?" So
And Geraldo said, "No, you're crazy.
yeah,
You are crazy.
He was testing him.
You are crazy."
All right, enough crazy.
Great show, everybody.
Next
Great
week, Gary
show.
Goldstein,
Yeah.
Taxi Driver.
Looking forward to it.
Okay, you guys have a good week. Watch Taxi Driver so we can talk about it.
You talking to me? You talking to me? You must be
Yeah,
talking
talking
to
to
me.
you.
I'm the only one standing here.
Good Jodie Foster film is a lot. Harvey Keitel's
you know
in
what?
that.
Harvey
I want
Keitel.
them to redo Taxi Driver and age Robert De Niro.
Well, they were talking about, actually, I just read something where they were trying to get a sequel to that. He wanted to do a sequel. What happened to Travis Bickle later on?
Yeah.
But now De Niro's kind of he's an over-the-top character actor now.
Yeah.
I love De Niro, but his stuff now is just, oof.
Well, people got to, people.
Did you see
I
that
know.
movie with him and Pacino where they were both cops and one of them was corrupt?
15 minutes or something like that? Was
Yeah.
that?
No, I
I
didn't
was
see
so
that.
sad because I was hoping for something really nice, but
Well, Heat was all they have to do.
Well, I
That
loved
scene in
Heat. I mean, Heat was great.
Yeah.
You have to do anymore.
But
All right.
yeah. All right.
Come on.
That's
All right.
we're
See
going.
you guys next week.
See ya.
Taxi Driver. Okay.
Okay, bye everyone. Have a great week.